They told us he was finished, that the knees were shot, that the game had passed him by, that the 3 straight losses meant the end of an era. But what happened at UFC Atlanta was a reality check, and not for Kamaru Usman, but for everyone who counted him out. Because while the hype was on Joaquin Buckley, the streaking knockout artist destined for a title run, it was the former pound-for-pound king who reminded everyone, apart from me of course, on why he once ruled this sport as the pound-for-pound #1. Kamaru Usman walked into that octagon, not with just, the weight of expectation, but with the silence of doubt pressing up against him. He wasn't supposed to go out there and win this, not against Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin Buckley was the new young blood, the surging force, the highlight reel finisher with youth, speed, and momentum on his side. He was supposed to walk through Usman and retire the legend. But once those cage doors closed and the first takedown landed with crushing precision, it was then when it became painfully clear that this wasn't just a veteran holding on to his past. This was a master of the game and taking full control of the present. And you see, that's the beauty of the game. Because even when you believe in the right guy, you don't always know how it's going to unfold. But when you've been at the top, when you've fought the best of the best for years, you don't need to win pretty. All you need to do is just win. And that's exactly what Kamaru Usman did. So now let's get into it. Round by round, moment by moment, and break down how the washed former champ just schooled one of the division's most hyped up contenders. And if this was the beginning of his last chapter, then he's writing it in ink made of legacy, heart, and the cold, calculated dominance of a former pound-for-pound king. Don't ever count him out again. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share so you can help me reach 3,000 subscribers by May. I'll deeply appreciate you. And make sure you join the official UFC Discord, link in the description. Alright, so look, UFC Atlanta just wrapped up, and let me just say this. Give me my props for putting the house on Marty. And look, I get it. It wasn't in the way I expected it to go at all, but, we still got the job done on Saturday night. And, going into this fight, I had full faith in Usman getting the job done, but I truly thought that it'd be through a crisp, calculated striking masterclass. I expected him to keep Buckley at the end of that piston-like jab, mix in a few power shots, and then put on a full vintage stand-up clinic. Street Judas Masvidal rematch style. But what actually unfolded was quite literally the complete opposite. Kamaru Usman didn't just beat Joaquin Buckley, he absolutely mauled him. Ragdolled him. Out-wrestled him in nearly every single round for over 13. Yes, 13 straight minutes of control time. At 38 years of age and against a young, explosive, athletic, and in his prime contender on a streak. This wasn't just a win, it was a reminder. And you see, in retrospect, this performance really says something bigger. All those constant no-knees narratives and all that talk about Usman being done, washed, old, and fragile, yeah, throw that shit in the garbage right now. Because if you use that bad knees argument as your main reason to pick Buckley, then you might as well be a bona fide casual, honestly. Because Kamaru Usman just went out there and wrestled like it was 2019 once again. I'm talking about perfect timing on his takedowns, elite control on the mat, and damage in every single round. Round 1 quite literally looked like a 10-8, bro. He busted Buckley open with some ground and pound, set the tone early, and never truly let off of that gas. And, the only round that even remotely looked competitive was, the 5th and maybe a bit of the 4th. And even then, Usman was still in it, still eating those fat shots and still pushing forward. The man is built different. Put some respect on his fucking name. What? But what made this performance even more impressive was just how fundamentally sound and brutally effective it was. I mean, yeah, it wasn't the flashiest or the most highlight reel worthy, but it was suffocating. Buckley just simply couldn't get up, and Usman's top control, his positional awareness, and subtle yet dangerous ground strikes wore Buckley down round after round. And while his striking during the bout did make me scratch my head in confusion, his jab as well as his body kicks were still sharp. And, that being said, he didn't even need to rely on the striking clinic that I was expecting. He reminded everyone that elite American wrestling still has a place at the top of mixed martial arts. It just, takes an operator like the Nigerian Nightmare in order to wield it. And before I finish this section, let's not ignore this. Marty from Nebraska still has a chin. I mean, Buckley came alive in that 5th round and cracked him with some bombs that flattened some of the best, and Usman's massive P-shaped head just absorbed all of them. No panic, no quitting, just straight, crafty, old vet grit. And now here we are. Usman snaps his 3-fight losing streak and silences all of the doubters, and now throws himself right back into the welterweight title conversation. And, does he deserve a title shot? That's up for debate. But between his name value, resume, and this performance, don't be shocked if he ends up fighting the winner of Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. But personally, I feel like it's honestly a given that we need to see the Marty versus Bilal Remember the Eyeball matchup. Now that Usman's off of his losing streak and now possibly looking at a title shot, I mean, there is history, bad blood, and on top of that, it would be the best excuse/reason to drop the long talked about podcast that never got to see the light of day. And, plus this is probably the best case scenario if the UFC doesn't want to give Marty an instant title shot from, a hiatus off of a losing streak. Just make them the co-main to a pay-per-view in the late 3rd quarter or early 4th quarter of the 2025 calendar. But above all, this fight showed that levels and styles still make fights. I mean, Buckley had the hype, but who did he really beat? Who really tested his wrestling like this? I mean, while Usman may be a little older and a bit more war-torn, he still not only got the experience, but the skills as well as the techniques that made him a champion back in his heyday. And, on Saturday in Atlanta, he proved that there are still levels to this game and that the Nigerian Nightmare is still sitting near the top. And let's really take a second to appreciate what just happened here. Kamaru Usman didn't just win a fight. He reminded everyone what greatness truly looks like when it refuses to fade. Because, you see, most fighters at 38 years of age, on a 3-fight skid with chronic knee injuries and nearly 2 years of inactivity, wouldn't have taken a fight like this. Not against a surging knockout artist like Joaquin Buckley. But Marty ain't duck no smoke. He embraced it, walked through the fire, and made it look so damn easy for about 24 and a half straight minutes. That just speaks to that championship level mentality that made him pound for pound #1. And legacy isn't just built on highlight reels. It's built on grit, adaptation, and proving doubters wrong when the lights are the brightest. And this fight also just served as a reality check for the new generation. Because you see, it's easy to get caught up with, the hype of these younger fighters like a Joaquin Buckley. I mean, you've got the streaks, the highlights, and the viral moments. But when they face off against someone like a Kamaru Usman, someone who's been at the deep end for years and knows how to win rounds, control momentum, and dismantle hype trains methodically, then that's when they start to see the difference. And, don't get it twisted, because Buckley's stock doesn't completely crash here. But what this loss, truly shows is that there are still levels between explosive potential and seasoned execution. And Kamaru Usman has just exposed every single layer of experience Buckley had when it came to his grappling at the elite level. So now the conversation shifts. Where does Marty go from here? Does he chase that one final run at UFC Gold? Or does he become the gatekeeper to greatness? You know, the one guy that you've got to beat in order to prove that you belong at the upper echelon? At this point, it's kind of hard to say, but either way, what we saw in Atlanta is that Kamaru Usman isn't just still here. He's still dangerous, still evolving, and still absolutely capable of shutting down that next wave of contenders. And if this was the beginning of his last chapter, then he's writing it in ink made of pure legacy, heart, and cold, calculated dominance. Don't ever count him out again. But that's all I've got to say for this video. Let me know in the comment section below. What were your guys' overall thoughts to UFC Atlanta, Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley? And where do you guys think the next steps are for the Nigerian Nightmare, as well as Joaquin Do you think that after this performance against Joaquin, Kamaru is maybe in contention for a title shot? And who do you think is next for Joaquin Let me know in the comment section below. But that about wraps up the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.